Jake Paul is in for the biggest challenge of his career as he gears up to take on legendary MMA champion Anderson Silva on the 29th of October. To kick off promotion, the problem child has called out Dana White, asking him to bet $5 million on their highly anticipated boxing match. So, will the UFC boss take up Jake's offer, or is this just a desperate attempt to stoke some controversy? Stay tuned and we'll tell you. First up, someone to help make headlines. Despite his notorious attitude, Jake Paul has decided to take a more respectful approach towards his opponent since he also happens to be his childhood idol. He's doing really well playing the Mr. Nice Guy role by showering his opponent with respect and keeping things light and cool with the Brazilian champion. But if Jake's doing all that, where's the controversy going to come from? He literally goes by the problem child. The fact that he's not causing any problems has us freaked out. Well, worry not. Jake has pointed all cannons at his longtime rival Dana White, asking him to place a $5 million bet on his fight against Anderson Silva in the hopes to make headlines. Jake is a master at promoting his art. We gotta give him that much. One way or the other, the celebrity boxer figures out a method to promote his fight, making headlines and attracting more eyes to make more money. But as usual, the combat world has had a mixed response to his wager, calling it a desperate attempt at trying to grab attention. And when you think about it, it's exactly that. He can't just start talking smack to one of the greatest mixed martial artists to ever step foot inside the octagon now, can he? Up next, Dana still owes Jake $1 million. Believe it or not, it was actually Dana White who started the betting discussion in the first place. When Jake was getting ready to fight former UFC fighter Ben Askren, White said he's willing to bet anybody $1 million that Askren will defeat Paul. What do you know? The problem child shook up the fight world, proving he actually takes his boxing really seriously by delivering a stunning knockout to win the fight. On the other hand, that $1 million bet was never made official, and a few days after the fight, Dana said he didn't go through with the bet since no sportsbook was giving him favorable odds. So to make things even more interesting, Jake has completely changed the narrative, saying the UFC boss owes him $1 million, but he's willing to waive that off granted he makes the $5 million bet. But I want you to come out of hiding, stop being a bitch, and make a bet against me and Anderson and actually pay up this time. You didn't think I would take this fight, so let's make a bet. Jake could spice up the odds of Dana making the bet by hitting him where it hurts, you know. Like, instead of calling him names or talking about the pending $1 million, Paul should talk about getting a fight inside the cage. Or even better, a contract with the UFC. Now there's absolutely no doubt he'll probably get butchered, since he has very little MMA training. But it's much more exciting than just $5 million for two guys who have boatloads of money stacked at the bank. Now for the $1 million question. Forget the $1 million bet. Let's talk about the $1 million question. So how's this fight going to play out? Does the problem child even stand a chance against the GOAT of the UFC's welterweight division? Well, we don't know about the result because anything can happen. But if we are talking about the on-paper stats, Anderson Silva wins this fight by a huge margin. He might not be a boxer, but he's already fought a few exhibition matches inside the ring, and his experience inside the cage will probably end up being too much for Paul. But again, this is an exhibition match. People want to be entertained. They want action. They want to have a good night. Anderson Silva and Jake Paul are going to give them just that, keeping the first few rounds light and entertaining so fans can get their money's worth. Following up with a significant step up. Jake Paul has gradually been stepping up his game, taking on better opponents every single time. What started with a retired basketball player ended up with the YouTuber knocking out the former UFC welterweight champion. And a lot of people have been saying the whole fight was scripted. But if you ask us, we think Jake is a legit boxer now. He's been training like an absolute monster for this fight, and even though there's no comparison between the two fighters, he'll give Anderson a run for his money. We're looking forward to how this fight plays out, because this isn't just a matter of fame or money, it's a matter of legitimacy. If he's able to record a win against one of the MMA greats, that means he's officially verified his status as a legitimate pro boxer. But then again, our common sense tells us he has almost no chance to beat someone so skilled and experienced like the Spider. Guess we'll have to wait and see how things play out on the night of action. We're looking forward to a really entertaining fight, and $5 million on the line. Time for some more on the combat sports world. Up next, a ride in your Bentley. Tony Ferguson is quite the car guy. Whenever the former interim UFC champion notices a nice ride, he takes his time to admire the beauty. When El Cucuy was on his way to the apex with just 14 hours left in UFC 279, he noticed a Bentley which really seemed to have caught his eye. It was owned by UFC executive Hunter Campbell, and coincidentally, Hunter was the one to break the news that they wanted to save the card, and for that to happen, Tony, would have to fight Nate Diaz. El Cucuy told Hunter that he'd have to ask his wife first, since the MMA legend consults his family on all important decisions related to his career. But before Hunter could get another word in, Tony also added that sitting behind the wheel of that sleek Bentley in the parking lot would also help him make a decision. According to several eyewitnesses, Tony was dead serious when he said that, like he wasn't even joking around. And we're guessing Campbell saw that, and that's why he threw him the keys and said how he doesn't give a shit about the car, and that he's welcome to take it for as long as he wants. Long story short, Tony was back with the Bentley in 45 minutes and agreed to take the fight. Let's talk about the Smash Brothers. Remember when we told you how Khabib thinks Khamzat should surround himself with more Muslims that want him to do good? Well, it seems like those comments haven't sat too well with Shimav's training partner Darren Till, as he hit Khabib back with a few shots of his own. Till was pretty critical of what Khabib had to say, and to be fair, he has everything right in the world. How can lack of Muslim influence in the camp prevent Khamzat from making weight? Like his coach and doctors literally said he was having a botched weight cut. He was puking and fainting every time he tried. So yeah, his theory about not having enough Muslims around is kind of flawed. Darren also said that just because he likes to have fun with Khamzat on camera doesn't mean he's a bad influence or something. We have to side with Darren here. The man's talking sense. Khabib's camp was full of Muslims, and he still missed weight like 5 times in his career. We think it's pretty pointless the Eagle had to drag all that into the discussion. Finally, The Rock's shoes. One of Hollywood's biggest actors, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, has his own athletic label, part of Under Armour, and his shoes also happen to be official footwear of the UFC. Now, fighters will have to wear the extra bright red sneakers to UFC events, including press conferences, media events, and cage walk-ins. But the move has landed Dana White in a lot of trouble. For starters, fighters are calling out The Rock for appropriating a deal that doesn't even benefit them the slightest bit. And Nate took it to the next level during an interview with ESPN's Megan O'Leary by taking off the shoes and throwing them somewhere in the arena. Nate didn't hold back as he told Megan the shoes fucking suck, telling her how the UFC literally forced him to put them on. We haven't seen the shoes up close, but we're not gonna lie, red shoes aren't the coolest of kicks out there. Also, if fighters aren't getting anything out of the deal, then we're never going to get behind them. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Will Dana take up Jake's $5 million wager? And are you expecting an upset on October 29th? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting and original content in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.